Howdy folks, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we will be covering some of the most common questions I get asked from private investigators. And if you have private investigator related questions of the PI guy, well then hop down in the comments below and let me know what they are. And if I use your question in a video, I may very well give you a personal shout out as well. My first PI question is actually a question for you. In fact, this is for my great viewers out there who are doing surveillance day in and day out or who have ever conducted any surveillance. I want to take an impromptu poll here on the channel. If you do surveillance, let me know what is the longest video you ever obtained during a surveillance and what type of surveillance was it? Was it a workers' comp, personal injury, civil matter, or some other type of case? Go down in the comments below and let me know. I would love to hear from you. For me, the longest piece of video I ever obtained in one day was probably close to 6 hours of video. I know, amazing, ain't it? It was an injury-related case, and I obtained an absolute ton of video of the claimant working a construction job. But not just any old construction job. He was doing some major outdoor remodel work on his own house. He was a carpenter by trade and supposedly was injured on the job and could not continue working for his employer. However, he did seem to be able to do carpentry work, masonry work, and, as well, plenty of general labor work, like lifting and carrying all of that construction material around. Now let me know a little bit about the most video you ever obtained while on surveillance. On that case, I got over 6 hours one day and probably had well over 10 hours for the 2-day assignment. And yes, I did get that case back numerous times, and each time I got it back, I got a ton of video on the subject, albeit not quite as much, but it was all good video to be sure. Travis Knight, a good viewer here on the PI Guy channel, asked me if I could chime in on conducting surveillance in rural areas. Travis, this is a great topic to discuss to be sure. Thank you so much for asking. Now, Daniel Gouge also chimed in on this and made some good points in his comments too. Daniel points out that in most rural situations, there are not as many people or objects for that matter, which you can easily blend in with. Conducting rural surveillance has a ton of challenges, folks, and if you are a city person and you only do city surveillance, then going out on a rural countryside surveillance will be a ton different to be sure. The first piece of advice I always give investigators when it comes to rural surveillance is to do your homework and do it well. It is easy, I know from experience, to just get up in the morning, grab your gear, and head out the door and get on scene and get set up with little to no pre-surveillance prep. If you know your subject lives in an apartment building, it is simple. Find his vehicle. Find out what building he is in. Find a location where you can observe the exits of the building and his vehicle. Then hunker down and get the job done. Or if you spent 5 minutes and you checked the neighborhood out on Google, you may have easily identified several potential stationary surveillance positions on a house. So you may be able to simply roll in and set up really quick and do the same thing on a regular residential neighborhood surveillance. But rural is a lot different, folks. Let me tell you a little bit about one of my very first surveillance cases. This was very early in my surveillance days. The subject lived in a house with her husband, her 2.65 kids, a dog, some cats, and some cattle on the farm too. The residence was on a long and windy driveway about a half mile off the road. When I got on scene, I was like, what do I do now? Now, back then, there was no Wi-Fi, there was no 5G, 4G, 3G, 2G, or any Gs for that matter. In fact, where I was doing surveillance, there wasn't even cell phone service. I got on scene, and then I found a place, that one little happy spot in that little town for me, where I had one bar of service on my old flip phone. I called my client and said, how do I handle this? Now, this client was a larger PI firm who had just gotten this large insurance contract, and for the most part, they knew very little about doing this type of surveillance work. They told me, well, just go park on the road where you can watch the house and wait for her to leave. So do you know what I did? Yeah, I went and I sat on that road with no shoulders right by the driveway, and I waited for her to leave. She did leave, and I did follow her right into town where she did some shopping. She also did some looking around too, like looking around right at my vehicle. Yep, first time out on a rural surveillance, and I was completely burned, folks. She then went back home, and I followed her, and then I sat there on that old country road, proud as I could be, because after all, I got my video. Then I noticed a pickup coming down the driveway. That is right, a pickup, not her car. And I could see a lone male driving the pickup truck. Then he drove right over to my vehicle. As he came to a complete stop right next to my car, I took a big gulp and I rolled down my window. Then I looked him square in the eyes and he said, "Are you watching my wife?" At this point, I had not breathed for about a solid minute. I took another big gulp and I said, "Excuse me?" To which he replied, "Well, I figured you were out here watching my wife, since she is on workers' compensation and all." I then made a quick story about waiting for someone down the road, to which he just said something like, "Mm-hmm." Then he drove off, flipped a U-turn, drove back past me real slow, then went back up that driveway towards the house. I was then like, what do I do now? I sat there for a bit, then I saw a car go speeding past me, so I took the opportunity to chase after that car as if that is who I was waiting for. Did it work? I don't know, but it got me out of the situation and where I could regain my composure and come up with a quick plan B. So the second lesson to learn while on rural surveillance, do not, I repeat, do not just set up a stationary surveillance position on the country road at the end of the subject's driveway. I ended up locating a position about 1.5 miles away as the crow flies on another country road where I could faintly see the subject's residence and make out the vehicles and see if there was activity. This was next to some dried up wetland areas, so I sat there with my camera zoomed all the way in on a tripod pointing at the house. I had a couple people stop and inquire as to what I was filming, and I used the guise of getting some video of the wildlife, you know, the deer, the birds, and such. I also did see my subject leave on multiple occasions during my 3 days of surveillance and was able to catch up to her on the main highway and follow at a distance as she drove into a smaller city and did more shopping. I did get plenty of video of her and the client was very happy with the outcome, and I did get that case back several times. Lesson 3, try to have a good surveillance position at a distance where you can see activity and have time to react to that activity as it occurs. Lesson 4, have a good guise in mind and practice that guise in the event someone stops to talk to you. I mean, practice it out loud, folks. Does it make sense when the words come out of your mouth? Now, back to lesson 1. Do your homework. In today's days of technology, there is little need to go out on a surveillance anywhere without some level of knowledge of what you're going to see. Now, if at all possible, I try to go out and do a pre-surveillance recon too, so I know ahead of time what it looks like today. But I know that is not always possible. Like this case study, that residence was 2 hours away from me, so I wasn't going to spend 4 to 5 hours of unpaid or unauthorized time. But if the case is closed 20 minutes away or on my way home from another case, something like that, you better believe I'm going to swing by and check things out. Get on Google Maps, get on Bing Maps, and check everything out in satellite view, bird's eye view, street view, and zoom out and get a good look at the entire surroundings. Look for multiple potential stationary surveillance positions. I am usually looking for most likely routes the subject will drive and finding places where I can see the subject leaving and get a good follow position for mobile surveillance. I have often mentioned when I am on surveillance, I always take my trusty Covert LawMate spy cam. This one right here is my go-to one from LawMate. It is a phone case for an iPhone 6 with a covert camera built into it. I did a review video a while back on this, and I will leave a link for that video below. In response to that video, Virtual Bar, another great PI Guy viewer, asked me if this covert camera is a standalone camera or if it has to have a phone hooked up to it. So here is the camera and here is the iPhone 6. They are two separate things. In fact, you can use any phone that fits into the case if you want. I had just picked up a good used iPhone 6 for myself as it fits perfectly into the case. But the big secret is I don't need this or any phone for that matter. The covert camera part, the case if you will, is completely standalone. On the back here, there are 3 switches. One of those turns the power on or off, another is for Wi-Fi on or off, and the third is for motion detection on or off. And the covert camera has a micro SD slot right here where you can put your SD card, and this is where all the video is stored. Video is not stored on the phone, but it can be viewed real time with the phone, but it doesn't even have to be the iPhone 6. I can connect the camera with any cell phone with the app for the camera installed. So I can carry it like this with another phone. And as long as I have Wi-Fi on the camera turned on and I have it connected to the phone and the camera, I can control the camera with that phone. You see, the camera acts like a hotspot or a router, if you will. And when I have the camera Wi-Fi turned on, I can go to my cell phone and I can search for a Wi-Fi connection and connect directly to the camera. Now, it does not have internet, so it is not going to keep you connected to the internet. But the really good thing about this Covert camera is this. Once I turn this camera on, it starts recording. I don't even have to connect it to a phone. It just starts recording. So I can, if I wanted to, carry this all by itself or with a non-functioning phone, and it will work just fine. And as I said, it has motion detection too. So I can turn on the camera, turn on the motion detection, and set it on a table, the dash of my car, wherever, have it pointed in the direction I am watching, and whenever anyone walks past, it will capture video. Now there is a slight delay, as with all motion sensors, so keep that in mind. You want to have as wide a view as possible, and the motion detection has a distance limit of about 15 or 20 feet or so. Now, if you want more info on this camera or any of my other PI gear, I will leave a link below to my official PI Guide, PI Gear page where you can check it all out. I have also been asked by many private investigators if I can do some live surveillance training videos, and I have started doing those videos, folks, to help you out as well. And I have just released this video not too long ago, so you will want to check it out right now for more tips, tricks, and advice for surveillance investigations.